Producers, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make your slap bass direct input that sounds like this. Sound like this. Using Guitar Rig 7 from Native Instruments. All right, so this is Guitar Rig 7. I am on a new preset, and the first thing I want to do is add a compressor. I'm adding a compressor because just the nature of a slap bass are the slaps itself. Those are super percussive and really loud compared to the rest of the music. So let me actually play you the direct input sound one more time. So there's some huge gain jumps whenever the slap happens. So the first compressor we add, we actually want to bring those down or actually stop them and bring up the beefiness or the sustained and the tonality of the bass up closer to the level so it's a little more even. Inside of here, we can search for a compressor or we can just hit the dynamics tab. When you hover over them, you'll actually get a little bit of information over here in the bottom right about each one of these things. So that might be a good place to start before you add something. I'm going to just go ahead and drag and drop in the VC 160. And now I'm going to let the guitar play, and I'm just going to use my ears to decide what the best balance between the slappiness and the tonality of the bass is before we start adding some other effects. And one really cool thing, and something you should be using each and every time you make some adjustments to any of the effects inside of the rack, is on the preset volume over here. This little cog wheel, it looks like. If you hit that, you'll get some what's called automatic gain compensation. So it will take the output of the affected signal and match it to the input of the raw signal. And you'll be able to, when you bypass, you'll really be able to hear what effects are happening to the sound. So now that that's done, when I bypass over here in the top right, we should be able to hear the before and the after very clearly in terms of what it's doing to the sound rather than a big jump in gain. The next thing we want to do is add a cabinet. So as I said, this is a direct input directly into the computer, but we want it to sound like it's in a space, and the way we do that is with a cabinet system. So like I said, we have all of these sort of quick filters, but I'm just going to type in bass, and we'll get some obvious choices for bass processing. I'm just going to go ahead and use the bass invader over here. So immediately a big jump in gain. Let's go ahead and just adjust the gain quickly so we can get back to where we were. This is adding the bassy frequencies that we'd normally expect from a bass instrument. We have a little bit of an EQ section here. We've got the bass boost section and the master output. The next section is the cabinet versus the rooms. And we don't want too much of this on a bass instrument. Most people know that you don't want to add, in most cases, a reverb to a bass. And when we add a room mic, we're kind of creating a reverb. We want to use this sparingly, but we still want it to sound like it's in a space. So we are going to add a little bit. First thing I do, I'm just going to throw it completely extreme so you can hear the differences. And we just use this slider here to dictate the balance between the cabinet and the room. Now that we've added a room mic and a cabinet, it's changed the EQ balance a little bit of the bass, and we want to get back sort of closer to where we were. To do that, we want an EQ. I'm just going to hit EQ here. The solid EQ is a solid bet. I'm going to drag and drop it on here, and each one of these also has a number of presets. I just want to use a preset here to point that out for you. You don't have to completely go in 100% custom each and every time. These are great starting points, and I'm just going to choose rock bass. Now, I think that sounds really good. A couple of things that I don't think sound too, I think it's too much in the higher end of the frequency on the slappy part. So I'm actually going to just turn down the gain for that and for the high mids. And everything else actually sounds pretty good. All right, so I think that's sounding really good. It's night and day from where we started, and I think it's actually a huge improvement. Now, these are somewhat subjective, especially because it's a solo performance. So if I brought Dr. Funk in here, who actually played this, he might have a completely different idea of where to take this sound. But for me, on my monitors right now, this is sounding really good. The last thing I want to do is, again, because we've been stacking different effects, the dynamics of the entire signal are kind of out of whack again. That's okay. We're adding some mid to high frequency content there, which is bringing those slaps back into focus. And I want to push those back just a little bit by bringing up the bassy tonality part of the solo. And that's really the last thing we need to do. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use a different compressor this time. I'm just going to use the VC2A. Drop it on there. Peak reduction, I'm just going to turn this up until I see the peaks, maybe -2, -1, depending on what sounds best. I might bring in the dry signal as well, but that will all happen live on the fly while I'm listening to the performance. And there we go. I did do some additional tweaks there to the signal chain, but that's the cool thing about doing it non-linearly. I can always go back anywhere in that chain and make any tweaks that I want. So for me right now, this sounds phenomenal. I hope that makes sense on why I chose what I chose. And I hope you like the final result here. So with the end of this video, I'm just going to let you hear the entire solo performance from Dr. Funk. I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the video description as well. Definitely check him out. He is an absolute talent. And if you like slap bass, you're going to love Dr. Funk. But as usual, I'm Joshua Casper. Check out Guitar Rig 7. Links to that in the video description as well. And I'll see you in the next video.